The Corvan Imperial fleet cut through the void of space, like silver daggers against the star-filled darkness. Admiral Nex stood on the bridge of his massive command vessel, the Death's Edge, watching Earth grow larger on the main viewing screen. 43 worlds had fallen before his fleet. 43 civilizations had knelt before Corvan might. This blue-green marble would be number 44. Another primitive world, muttered Sub-Commander Rix, studying the tactical displays. Their technology readings are barely above Stone Age level. This should take less than a solar cycle. Admiral Nex nodded. His forearms crossed behind his back in the traditional Corvan pose of authority. His scaled skin reflected the bridge's blue lighting as he examined Earth's orbital patterns. The planet looked peaceful, almost inviting. No massive defense platforms, no armed satellites, no warning signals or demands to leave their space, just silence. Begin standard subjugation protocol, he commanded. Target their communication networks first. Blind them, then strike their population centers. I want this over quickly. Far below on Earth's surface, buried 3 miles beneath the Colorado, Rocky's Major Kim Taeho watched his screens with growing tension. The underground facility, codenamed Deep Watch, had been monitoring space for unusual activity since the 1970s. What started as a Cold War project had evolved into humanity's first line of defense against the unknown. Contact bearing 27 Mark V is now confirmed as hostile, announced Lieutenant Park Min-ae, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were witnessing. 37 vessels, classification unknown. They're massive, sir. Each one is at least 3 times larger than our biggest aircraft carrier. Taeho leaned forward in his command chair, studying the alien formation through their long-range sensors. The vessels moved with perfect coordination, like a school of metallic fish swimming through the cosmic ocean. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. "Have they attempted any communication?" he asked. "Negative, sir. They're maintaining radio silence, but we're detecting massive energy buildups across their weapon systems." Minnie's fingers flew across her holographic interface, pulling up weapon signatures that made Earth's most advanced military technology look like medieval swords. "Alert all global defense networks," Taeho ordered. "Activate Project Sleeping Giant. Authorization code Alpha 97 Black." Around the world, hidden facilities received the activation signal. Satellites that had orbited Earth for decades, disguised as defunct communication relays and space junk, suddenly came online. Their true purpose, known only to a handful of world leaders and military commanders, was about to be revealed. High above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Nex watched his targeting computers identify key satellite networks. "Fire," he commanded. Brilliant. Beams of superheated plasma lanced out from the Corvan ships, striking Earth's communication satellites with surgical precision. The alien weapons tore through metal and circuitry like paper, reducing humanity's orbital infrastructure to burning debris in seconds. "Their communication grid is down," reported the weapons officer. "They're completely isolated now." Admiral Nex allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This was always the easiest part. Cut off their ability to coordinate, and most civilizations crumbled within hours. "Excellent. Begin targeting their major." Alarms screamed across the bridge. Warning lights bathed everything in harsh red as the ship's defensive systems activated automatically. "What is happening?" Nex demanded. "Sir, we're under attack. Multiple contacts bearing all around us." On the main screen, chunks of what appeared to be space debris suddenly revealed their true nature: hidden weapon platforms disguised as asteroids, and defunct satellites opened fire with devastating precision. Railgun projectiles moving at incredible speeds punched through Corvan shields like they were made of tissue paper. The Corvan Spear, one of Nex's destroyer-class vessels, took 3 direct hits to its engine core. The ship's rear section exploded in a brilliant fireball, sending the vessel spinning helplessly through space. Another destroyer, the Silent Death, found its bridge section completely vaporized by a concentrated energy beam that came from what looked like an old Earth weather satellite. "Impossible," Nex snarled, his 4 hands gripping the command rail. "Our intelligence reports showed no advanced weapons, no orbital defenses." "Sir, They'd been hiding their capabilities, his tactical officer reported, voice trembling. These platforms have been dormant for decades. We completely missed them during our reconnaissance. Below on Earth, Lieutenant Park Minay watched the engagement unfold on her tactical display with fierce satisfaction. Direct hits on 2 enemy vessels. Sir, sleeping giant platforms are performing beyond expectations. Major Kim Tae-ho allowed himself a grim smile. Decades of preparation, hidden budgets and international cooperation had led to this moment. The orbital defense network had been humanity's greatest secret, a last line of defense that nobody expected to actually use. Status report on enemy fleet. 2 destroyers crippled, several more showing damage. But, sir, Minay's expression grew serious, they're regrouping, and we've shown them our hand. In space, Admiral Nex stared at the tactical display showing his damaged fleet. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he'd almost forgotten: uncertainty. These humans had been ready. They'd been waiting. Recall all forward scouts, he ordered. Reassess threat level and contact High Command. Tell them... He paused, watching another hidden platform reveal itself by firing on his ships. Tell them Earth is not what we expected. The war for Earth had begun, and already nothing was going according to plan. The sky above Seoul turned orange as dozens of Corvan dropships pierced through the clouds like burning meteors. Each vessel was the size of a city bus, their hulls glowing white-hot. From atmospheric entry, the alien craft moved with deadly purpose, their engines screaming as they descended toward the sprawling metropolis below. Admiral Nex watched the invasion unfold from his command ship, studying multiple video feeds from his ground forces. The dropships landed with thunderous impacts that shattered windows and cracked pavement for blocks around each landing zone. Massive ramps dropped from the vessels' bellies, and out marched the Corvan assault troops. Phase 2 initiated, reported his ground commander. All primary targets secured, beginning civilian pacification protocols. The Corvan soldiers were terrifying to behold. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their powered armor made them look like walking tanks. Blue energy coursed through channels, carved into their metallic suits, and their helmets featured glowing red visors that could see through walls. Each warrior carried plasma rifles that could melt through steel, and their heavy footsteps left deep impressions in the concrete. Captain Lee Dong-woo pressed himself deeper into the shadows beneath the collapsed overpass, watching the alien formation march past his hiding spot. His earpiece crackled with reports from teams positioned throughout the city. For 3 years, his unit had lived among Seoul's population, working normal jobs by day while training for this exact moment. By night, Dragon Team report status, he whispered into his throat mic. In position at Gangnam Tower, came the reply from Sergeant Kim Hee-jin. I count 20 hostiles moving in standard sweep formation. Tiger Team ready at City Hall, reported Corporal Park Jun-ho. Explosives are set. Waiting for your signal. Lee. Watched the Corvan soldiers move with mechanical precision down the main street. Their tactics were clearly designed for intimidation. They kicked down doors, dragged terrified civilians into the open, and set up massive holographic displays showing other conquered worlds. The message was clear. Resistance is futile. But what the aliens didn't know was that half the civilians they were rounding up were actually off-duty military personnel. Seoul's entire defense plan was built around hiding soldiers in plain sight. Shopkeepers, taxi drivers, office workers, students. Many were trained fighters waiting for the right moment to strike. The lead Corvan squad approached Myeongdong Plaza, their sensors scanning for threats. The area appeared completely deserted, except for abandoned cars and scattered debris. Their tactical computers showed no life signs, no heat signatures, no electromagnetic activity. It looked like the perfect place to set up a command post. Sergeant Cho Soo-jin lay motionless in a storm drain beneath the plaza, her body covered in thermal dampening fabric that made her invisible to alien sensors. Around her waist was a belt containing 12 remote detonators, each connected to carefully placed explosive charges throughout the area. She'd been in position for 6 hours, waiting patiently as a spider waits for flies. Phoenix to all teams, Lee's voice whispered through her earpiece. Hornets are in the nest. Light them up. Su Jin, smiled grimly and pressed the first detonator. The plaza erupted in a symphony of destruction. Explosive charges hidden in flower planters, park benches, and underground utility tunnels detonated simultaneously. The blast wave lifted the lead Corvan soldiers off their feet and sent them tumbling like toys. Their powered armor sparked and smoked as the electromagnetic pulse from the explosives disrupted their systems. But the explosions were just the beginning. From windows 30 floors above, sniper teams opened fire with modified rifles that fired armor-piercing rounds. The bullets struck the disoriented aliens with deadly accuracy, finding gaps in their protective suits. Corporal Lee Min-soo took down 3 Corvans with 3 shots, each round aimed at the vulnerable joints where their armor plates connected. More. Humans emerged from subway tunnels, maintenance shafts and hidden bunkers built into building foundations. They moved like ghosts through the smoke and debris, appearing just long enough to fire their weapons before vanishing again into the urban maze. The Corvan commander, Sub-Lieutenant Vax, struggled to his feet as his damaged armor systems flickered. Back online. This wasn't supposed to happen. His tactical database contained information on over 40 conquered species, and none had ever mounted such an organized defense after the initial invasion. "Command, this is Ground Team Alpha," he reported, his voice distorted by his damaged communication system. "We are under heavy attack. Request immediate reinforcement." "Impossible," came Admiral Nex's reply from orbit. "Our sensors show minimal resistance. Status report." "Sir, the humans are using their entire city as a weapon. They're attacking from multiple levels, underground, street level, and from above. They appear and disappear like phantoms." Captain Lee moved through a series of connected basements, following routes that his team had mapped and prepared years in advance. The entire underground of Seoul had been turned into a network of hidden passages, supply caches, and ambush points. What looked like innocent maintenance tunnels to alien scanners were actually carefully planned battle zones. "All teams rotate positions," he commanded. "Use pattern Delta 7, keep them guessing." Throughout the city, human fighters followed predetermined routes that took them through shopping malls, subway systems, and office buildings. They would attack from one direction, then vanish through hidden exits and emerge somewhere completely different. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. The Corvan troops trained for conventional warfare struggled to adapt to this new reality. Their advanced sensors could detect obvious threats, but they couldn't distinguish between genuine civilians and hidden soldiers. Every street corner could hide a sniper. Every parked car might contain explosives. Every building might have tunnels leading to ambush points. As night fell over Seoul, Admiral Nex received casualty reports that made his scaled skin crawl. 20% of his ground forces were either dead or wounded, and they hadn't even secured a single city block. The humans weren't just resisting, they were winning. "Sir," his tactical officer reported nervously, "perhaps we should consider orbital bombardment." Admiral Nex stared at the tactical display showing his scattered forces. For the first time in his military career, he was beginning to understand that this conquest would cost more than he'd ever imagined. The murky water reached Captain Jung Woo-seok's chest as he waded through the flooded subway tunnel beneath Busan. The city above had been under Corvan control for 3 months, but down here in the underground maze, humanity still ruled. His breathing apparatus filtered the stagnant air, while his waterproof gear kept him moving silently through the darkness. The invasion had changed everything. What started as a conventional military operation had transformed into something the Corvans never expected. A planet-wide resistance movement that used Earth itself as a weapon. Every sewer system, every abandoned mine, every natural cave had become part of humanity's secret highway. "Phoenix, this is Serpent," whispered Sergeant Yoon Da-hee from her position 2 kilometers away in the old Metro Line 3. "Corvan patrol heading your way. Hate hostiles, full battle armor, moving through the central tunnel." Woo-seok pressed himself against the tunnel wall, feeling the cold concrete against his back. His team had been tracking this patrol for 2 hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The aliens had learned to avoid the surface at night, but they still didn't understand the vast network of tunnels that connected every major city on Earth. Above them, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the water-damaged ceiling. The Corvins were directly overhead now, their 8-foot frames making the old subway tunnel shake with each step. Their armor's power systems hummed with electrical energy, creating electromagnetic signatures that showed up like beacons on human thermal equipment. Lieutenant Han So-young clung to the tunnel ceiling like a spider, her specialized climbing gear keeping her suspended in the shadows above the approaching patrol. She'd been in position for 3 hours, waiting patiently while water dripped around her. Her modified sniper rifle was equipped with night vision and electromagnetic targeting systems that could track the aliens' power signatures through solid walls. "I have visual," she breathed into her throat mic. "Lead target is carrying a heavy plasma cannon, 2 flankers with energy shields, standard formation." The Corvin patrol moved with military precision, their red visor lights cutting through the darkness like laser beams. Their commander, squad leader Zeke, swept his weapon back and forth, scanning for threats. 3 months of guerrilla warfare had made the aliens paranoid, but they still didn't fully understand how humans fought. "Sector 7 clear," Zeke reported to his command center. "No human activity detected." What he didn't know was that his clear sector contained 15 human fighters positioned throughout the tunnel system. They'd learned to mask their heat signatures, disrupt electromagnetic fields, and move without making sound. The flooded tunnels that the aliens saw as obstacles, humans used as highways. Wusiok activated his first trap with a hand signal. A section of tunnel wall, weakened weeks ago by his engineering team, suddenly collapsed. Tons of rubble and rushing. Water crashed down on the rearguard, separating the patrol into 2 groups. The aliens' night vision was temporarily blinded by the debris cloud. "Now," he commanded. EMP grenades flew through the air like deadly footballs, each one precisely thrown to land at the feet of confused Corvin soldiers. The electromagnetic pulse devices exploded with brilliant blue flashes, sending waves of energy through the tunnel. The aliens' sophisticated armor system sparked and went dead, leaving them stumbling in the darkness. So-young opened fire from above, her rifles spitting armor-piercing rounds at the disabled enemies. Without their energy shields and powered assistance, the Corvins moved like clumsy giants in heavy metal suits. Her first shot found the gap between a soldier's helmet and chest plate. Her second and third shots disabled 2 more aliens before they could react. From the flooded sections of tunnel, more human fighters emerged like sea monsters rising from the depths. Corporal Kim Tae-jun fired his modified shotgun at point-blank range, the specialized shells designed to penetrate alien armor. Private Lee Na-ri threw homemade explosives that stuck to the Corvin's disabled suits before detonating. The entire ambush lasted less than 60 seconds. When the smoke cleared, 8 Corvin soldiers lay motionless in the tunnel, their advanced armor reduced to expensive scrap metal. The humans had vanished back into their underwater maze, leaving no trace except the destroyed patrol. Miles above, Admiral Nex stared at his holographic battle map with growing concern. Red markers showed where his patrols had gone silent. Yellow indicators marked areas where his forces controlled territory during daylight hours, but lost it again after dark. The map looked like a disease spreading across Earth's surface. "Sir, we've lost another patrol in Busan sector," reported his communications officer. "That's the 7th one this week." Sub-Commander Rax studied the tactical displays with 4 eyes that had seen warfare across dozens of worlds. "Admiral, I've never encountered anything like this. These humans don't fight like any species in our database. They're not trying to hold territory or protect resources. They're fighting like cornered animals." "Explain," Nex demanded. "Look at the pattern," Rax pointed to the battle map. "They don't care about winning battles. They care about making us pay for every meter of ground. Every patrol we send out, some don't come back. Every supply convoy needs escorts. Every occupation force needs backup forces to protect them." The Admiral's scaled hands gripped his command chair. "We control their major cities. Their governments have surrendered. Their military forces are scattered. But their planet is fighting us," Rax continued. "They've turned their entire world into a weapon. Their subway systems, their sewer networks, their mining tunnels, it's all connected. They can move unseen from one side of a continent to the other." Below ground, Captain Wusiok led his team through a series of connected storm drains toward their next target. The water was chest-deep and ice-cold, but his fighters moved without complaint. They'd adapted to living underground like moles, emerging only to strike before disappearing again. "Command, this is Phoenix Team," he reported to the hidden base beneath the Busan Mountains. "Package delivered, moving to secondary position." "Copy that, Phoenix. Well done." "Intelligence reports Corvan reinforcements heading your way. Recommend you go deep." Wushyok smiled grimly. Going deep meant descending into the abandoned subway maintenance levels 3 stories below the main tunnels. Down there, in complete darkness and knee-deep water, humans had built a secret world that no alien sensor could penetrate. The war was no longer about armies fighting armies. It had become something much more dangerous for the invaders, an entire planet that refused to stay conquered, where every citizen was a potential soldier and every building was a potential fortress. Admiral Nex studied the casualty reports one more time. His forces controlled the surface, but humanity owned everything below. And slowly, inevitably, the underground was winning. The underground war room buzzed with activity as Colonel Park Jae-min studied the holographic projection floating above the central table. The captured Corvan shuttle sat in the center of the display, its alien design now familiar to human eyes after months of careful study. Around the briefing table sat the most elite soldiers Earth had ever assembled, men and women from a dozen nations who had put aside old rivalries to fight for their planet's survival. "6 months ago we could barely understand their language," Jae-min said, manipulating the hologram to show the shuttle's internal systems. "Now we're planning to steal one of their ships and fly it into space." Captain Rodriguez from the American Delta Force leaned forward, studying the technical readouts. "Sir, how certain are we about this maintenance window?" Staff Sergeant Kim Nari, the team's technical specialist, stood up from her workstation where alien components lay scattered across multiple tables. Her hands were stained with the strange blue fluid that powered Corvan technology, and her eyes were red from months of working under artificial light. 90% certain, she replied, pulling up intercepted communications on her tablet. "We've been monitoring their transmissions for weeks. Every 7th day, their main command ship powers down its defensive shields for exactly 12 hours while they perform system maintenance. It's the only time the ship is vulnerable." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the magnitude of what they were proposing. The Corvan command vessel was a floating city in space, 3 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to destroy entire continents. It had never been boarded by enemy forces in the entire history of the Corvan Empire. Master Sergeant Oh Min-ho, a veteran of Korea's most elite Special Forces unit, stood at the tactical display. His weathered face showed the strain of 6 months of constant warfare, but his eyes burned with determination. "The assault team will consist of 12 operators," he explained, pointing to different sections of the ship's layout. "We'll enter through their shuttle bay using the captured transport. Kim Nari's technical team has modified our equipment to match Corvan energy signatures, so we should be invisible to their internal sensors." Lieutenant Chen Wei from China's Special Operations Forces raised her hand. "What about their crew?" "Intelligence suggests over 3,000 aliens aboard that ship. That's where our advantage lies," Jae-min replied. "The Corvans think like a traditional military. They expect frontal assaults, large formations, conventional tactics. They've never faced an enemy that specializes in infiltration and sabotage." 40 kilometers above Earth's surface, Admiral Nex paced the bridge of his command ship, studying reports that made his 4 stomachs churn with anxiety. The holographic displays showed casualty figures that should have been impossible. No species had ever resisted Corvan occupation for more than a few weeks, yet these humans had been fighting back for half a standard galactic year. "Admiral," his communications officer reported nervously, "High Command is requesting another status update." Nex's scaled skin darkened with embarrassment. The Corvan High Command had promised him a quick victory, another world to add to their expanding empire. Instead, he was trapped in an endless guerrilla war against a species that refused to acknowledge defeat. "Tell them the situation is complex," he growled. Sub-Commander Rax approached with the latest intelligence reports. "Sir, we've detected unusual activity in their underground networks. They're moving large amounts of equipment and personnel, but we can't determine their objective. What the aliens didn't know was that the equipment being moved included parts from 6 captured Corvan shuttles, 3 disabled patrol craft, and enough alien technology to outfit a small army. Human engineers had spent months learning to reverse engineer Corvan systems, turning the invaders' own technology against them. In the captured shuttle's cockpit, Kim Nari ran through the pre-flight checklist one final time. The alien controls had been modified with human interfaces, but the basic systems remained unchanged. She'd learned to read Corvan technical manuals by studying captured equipment, teaching herself an alien language through pure determination. All systems green, she reported to the assault team strapping themselves into the passenger compartment. We'll reach the command ship in approximately 2 hours. The shuttle lifted off from the hidden launch facility, its stolen Corvan transponder broadcasting friendly identification codes. To enemy sensors, it would appear to be a routine supply run returning to the mothership. Oh Minho checked his team's equipment one final time. Each operator carried weapons that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. Their armor was a hybrid design that provided protection while allowing them to move like ghosts through enemy territory. Remember, he told his team, we're not there to win a battle. We're there to gather intelligence and cause maximum disruption. In and out, fast and quiet. The shuttle approached the massive Corvan vessel like a minnow swimming toward a whale. The command ship's hull stretched endlessly in all directions, covered in weapon emplacements and sensor arrays that could detect threats from across the solar system. But during maintenance mode, many of those systems were powered down. As they entered the shuttle bay, the human team saw the true scale of their enemy's technology. Hundreds of alien craft filled the enormous hangar, while Corvan technicians moved among them like busy insects. The air thrummed with energy from massive power cores that could fuel entire cities. Kim Nari guided their shuttle to a quiet corner of the bay, parking it among other maintenance vehicles. "We are in," she whispered into her comm unit. 40 minutes until the next security sweep. The team moved through the ship's corridors with practiced stealth, their modified equipment allowing them to blend with the alien environment. What they discovered in the central command center would change everything they thought they knew about the war. On the main tactical display, star charts showed the Corvan Empire's desperate flight across the galaxy. Behind them, marked in red, was something called the Devourer Swarm, a force so terrible that it had driven the mighty Corvans from their home worlds. The humans realized they weren't fighting conquerors. They were fighting refugees. The wind howled through the broken windows of what used to be the United Nations building in Geneva. 8 months of war had reduced the once proud symbol of international cooperation to a skeleton of twisted metal and shattered glass. But today, in a hastily constructed shelter among the ruins, 2 enemies sat across from each other for the first time as equals rather than opponents. General Lee Byung-hun looked older than his 53 years. The stress of commanding Earth's global resistance had carved deep lines into his face, and his uniform bore the stains of countless battles fought in underground tunnels and ruined cities. Across from him sat Admiral Nex, his 4 arms folded, in what humans had learned was a gesture of respect among his people. The Corvan leader was equally worn by the prolonged conflict. His scaled skin had lost its lustrous shine, and several scars marked places where human weapons had found their targets during desperate battles. Both commanders bore the weight of decisions that had cost thousands of lives on both sides. "I must admit," Admiral Nex said, his voice transmitted through a sophisticated translation device that had taken human linguists months to perfect, "when we first detected your world, our scouts reported a primitive civilization. We expected conquest within a single lunar cycle." General Lee allowed himself a tired smile. "We've had a lot of practice at appearing weaker than we actually are. It's kept us alive as a species for thousands of years." Lieutenant Colonel Shin Yu-jin stood near the holographic display that dominated the center of the shelter. As the primary liaison between human and Corvan forces, she had spent the past month learning their language and customs. The intelligence, recovered from the Corvan command ship, had changed everything about humanity's understanding of the war. "Admiral," she said in carefully pronounced Corvan, Please tell the General what you told me about the Devourers. Admiral Nex's 4 eyes dimmed with what humans had learned to recognize as deep sadness among his people. 300 of your years ago they came to our home system. We called them the Endless Hunger, creatures that consume not just planets, but entire star systems. They strip away everything, the atmosphere, the oceans, the very matter that holds worlds together. The holographic display activated, showing star charts that the human infiltration team had stolen from the Corvan command ship. Red markers indicated dead systems, their stars dimmed to nothing, their planets reduced to empty space. The trail of destruction stretched across half the galaxy, always moving, always consuming. We tried to fight them, Nex continued. Our greatest weapons, our most powerful ships, nothing could stop them. So we became nomads, moving from world to world, taking what we needed to stay ahead of the swarm. General Lee studied the star charts with growing understanding. You weren't conquering worlds for empire. You were gathering resources for survival. 43 civilizations gave us ships, technology, raw materials. Some willingly, others... Nex paused, his translator struggling with the concept of regret. Others we took by force. We told ourselves it was necessary. Better to conquer than to be consumed. Shin Yu-jin activated another section of the display, showing Earth's position relative to the Devourer swarm's projected path. The calculations were terrifying in their simplicity. At their current rate of expansion, the creatures would reach Earth's solar system within 50 years. But Earth fought back, General Lee said. We changed your strategy. Your species is unique, Admiral Nex replied. Every world we conquered, the population eventually accepted occupation. They understood that resistance meant death. But humans? He gestured with one of his forearms toward the ruined city outside. Humans fight as if death is preferable to surrender. The general activated his own holographic controls, and the display filled with images that had nothing to do with war. Children playing in parks before the invasion. Families gathered around dinner tables, artists painting in studios, musicians performing in concert halls, students graduating from universities. This is what we fight for, Lee explained. Not just our lives, but our way of life. Our freedom to choose our own path, to make our own mistakes, to build our own future. More images appeared. Wedding ceremonies from dozens of different cultures, elderly grandparents teaching children traditional games, young people working together to solve problems that had never been solved before. The diversity was staggering, showing a species that celebrated difference rather than fearing it. Admiral Nex studied the images, with 4 eyes that had seen hundreds of different worlds. My people had this once. Before the Devourers came, we built great cities, created beautiful art, raised our young in safety and peace. You can have it again, General Lee said quietly, not by conquering other worlds, but by defending them. Together. The proposal was audacious beyond imagination. 2 species that had been locked in brutal warfare for 8 months, combining their strengths to face a threat that neither could survive alone. Human adaptability and tactical innovation, paired with Corvan technology and galactic knowledge. Your underground networks, Admiral Nex said thoughtfully. If we could build similar systems on multiple worlds, create hidden supply chains and communication networks that the Devourers couldn't detect, and your shields and energy weapons could protect evacuation ships, give civilian populations time to escape, Lee added. Shin Yu-jin watched the 2 commanders as understanding passed between them. The translator device couldn't capture the subtle shift in their body language, the way both leaders straightened as hope replaced desperation in their planning. There's something else, Admiral Nex said. The star charts we showed you, they're incomplete. We know where the Devourers have been, but not where they're going next. Your people's ability to think unpredictably, to see patterns that others miss. This could be the key to staying ahead of them. 6 months later, Captain Jung Woo-seok stood on the observation deck of the Joint Research Station orbiting Earth. The facility was a marvel of combined engineering, human, creativity merged with Corvan technology to create something neither species could have built alone. Through the massive viewing windows, he could see construction ships from both civilizations working side by side. They were building evacuation, vessels designed to carry entire populations to safety. Along with defense platforms, that could hold off the Devourer swarm long enough for the evacuation to succeed. "Quite a view," said Sub-Commander Rax, approaching with 2 cups of what humans had learned was the Corvan equivalent of coffee. Wu Seok accepted the drink, marveling at how normal this interaction had become. 8 months ago, they had been trying to kill each other in flooded subway tunnels. Now they were planning humanity's survival together. "Do you think it will be enough?" he asked. Rax's 4 eyes turned toward the stars, where other joint facilities were under construction around different worlds. "Perhaps. But even if we cannot stop the Devourers, we have achieved something neither of our species accomplished. Alone. What's that? We learned that the greatest victories come not from defeating your enemies, but from discovering that they were never your true enemies at all." Tuanity.